Hello everybody. So days 17 and 18, I always say I'm going to try to make this really short and sweet, and then I just get going, and I don't actually finish very quickly. And I am getting some serious messages today from my higher self while waking up, and also then confirmation from a couple of other people that I need to be playing more. So I'm gonna try to do this and then get outside and play in the sunshine. And yeah, so day 17, this is right after this last video where it was really, sad and emotional, trying to express how I really feel about what is going on in the world. And so day 17 is right after I made that last video, and making that video and getting so deep into expressing myself, it triggered a lot in me. So after that, I had a lot of crying coming up, a lot of crying. And with this crying, there was lots of feelings in my body this time. I haven't felt these kinds of feelings in my body from crying or trauma or remembering things that have happened in the past. I don't even know. I mean, never for myself. I've never cried like this for myself before. It's always been caused by like a breakup or something like that, and I've felt these feelings in my body before. It like literally feels like my heart is breaking, but I've only felt it in my heart before, even when I was feeling those really deep feelings of sadness and grief and like a trauma that I'm going through. And yesterday, well, day 17, after making that video, super triggered, just like the last few days, having a lot of stuff just come to the surface for me. And in those moments I was crying, and a lot of stuff was coming up to the surface for the person that I was in my 20s, and just looking back at the parts of myself that were just so saddening to me, seeing myself like that. And so this time I was feeling a lot of those feelings in my heart, very obviously, but I also felt them in my solar plexus this time, like here, my personal power. I was feeling like the woman that I was then, really just so painful right here. And then also in my sacral, because I have so much of the trauma and stuff that I went through in my 20s was caused by the things that I was doing to myself in my life that were very much connected to the energy in my sacral chakra, all that sexual and creative energy, and the IUD that I had in, right? Everything is connected. So lots of feelings in my body, and I just took that moment to allow it to happen. I feel like what was happening in that moment was that the trauma was coming back to the surface, and I was getting an opportunity to like really grieve, like feel those feelings that I didn't get to feel for myself then. Like I wasn't holding space for myself to feel them then. So yesterday I kind of went through a process where I was allowing that to happen, and like really holding myself and talking to my inner child, the inner child that was me in my 20s. And I'm 29, so I'm still in my 20s, but the majority of my 20s, and all of the very addictive and self-abusing behavior that I was subjecting myself to, creating this new trauma in my life. So that came to the surface, and I feel really good. Right, there's still more to do, but I that began yesterday. I was actually able to have those things come back up and really feel into them in a loving and accepting and understanding way of the person that I was in my like literally all throughout my 20s. I mean, most of my life, but as a young woman, right? And let's see. Yeah, and then also, again, I'm just going to reiterate, making these videos for me has been really healing for me to use my voice. It's been super triggering for me as well, because it's super hard for me to share these things, because there's like a huge spotlight. I'm putting the spotlight on myself, but I have to, because that is such a fear for me, I know that I have to work through that by using my voice and putting myself out there so that it is no longer a fear anymore. So yeah, in that whole process from day 17, being very, very triggered after all of that, and crying and sobbing and having all of that stuff come up, and being able to console my inner child, like through actual feeling, allowing the space for that feeling and stuff, I came to the conclusion again that I am sovereign and I am not controlled by anything else outside of me, and even myself. I don't control myself either. That was something big that I came to yesterday. It was like, also, I don't like controlling myself either. Like, we also still have to flow. I also still have to flow between this, what feels very much like suffering, because the suffering is always going to be there. As long as we're human beings, it's always going to be there. This suffering and bliss and flow, like learning how to flow between them without creating extra trauma, but actually like being able to, I don't know, I'm not quite exactly sure yet, but learning how to flow between the two of those without having it be catastrophic anymore. And so I just realized, like, I don't even control me. Like, I still need to learn how to flow through these life processes and not control the things myself. Do what I can, but allow the things to flow. Like what happened yesterday, I didn't try to control that, I let it happen and tried my best to just like feel into here the whole time and really hold the space for myself, the space and the love and the understanding that I didn't give myself before. I was missing that before. So yeah, I was really, really grateful to have that experience. It was super painful, but also super beautiful at the same time, because I am aware of what I need to do for myself now. I mean, I'm not entirely aware, but I'm learning what I need to feel, what I need to do for myself in those moments, those really difficult moments. And then just one little question came to me, like while all of this was happening, and I was like literally holding the parts of myself that it was really like I could feel the pain and that trauma coming back in. I was feeling it in my body, and then transmuting it by holding space and being understanding and loving and everything. And I thought to myself, like, why do we have two hands? And then I thought, well, why do we have two legs? Why do we have two arms? Why do we have two eyes? Why do we have two ears? And we know that the masculine energy is on the right side of our bodies, and the feminine energy is connected with the left side of our bodies. And then in the very center, when we are centered, right, they come together, and if we're balanced, they're running smoothly in these chakra centers, like not 7, 12. And so again, this idea of like having that balance come together and letting those two things flow without controlling them, lots of balance and flow feeling, and just surrendering to that flow and trying to hold space for myself, being loving and understanding all of that. So yeah, I just had that question come up, and I was like, that's interesting. Why? Like, why two? And it's because we have those, from what I have been I was feeling into after that, it's because we have those two energies, and then in the center of our body, that's where those energy centers really are coming together and trying to balance out. So yeah, I think that's all I got. Lots of I mean, yeah, all that stuff, very connected to the womb. I'm this like womb healing stuff is continuing to arise for me, and all of that stuff. A lot of the trauma that I went through in my 20s was very much connected to this womb. My womb. So I'm holding space and healing that stuff right now consciously, which is really awesome. So yeah, love you guys.